The Comedians of Carrion Ridge, Essay 5, The School of Silence, by K. Brad Barfield. By the fifth week, Carrion Ridge had gone quiet. The comedians were still out there somewhere, but they had stopped their nightly sets. The air above the ridge hung heavy and still, like a pause between the last line of a joke and the laughter that may or may not come. Beauregard said it was a test. Every school worth a damn, he told Harlan, has a season where nobody talks. Harlan did not take well to silence. He was, by nature, a man who filled every gap with words, theories, or mechanical hums of thought. His mind was an overstocked warehouse of commentary, and he could not imagine learning from quiet any more than he could imagine eating with his eyes closed. But that was the assignment: no talking, no questions, no mental monologues that started with, "I think." For 3 days he tried. He sat on the porch with his coffee and let the sounds of the world do the speaking. The wind, the creak of trees, the insects rehearsing their unending concert. He started to notice the tiny patterns, the rhythm of a woodpecker hammering on a hollow pine, the syncopated ticking of cicadas, and the far-off occasional bark of a dog that somehow seemed a part of the same orchestra. On the fourth morning, he woke before dawn and followed the fog down the ridge trail. The world was gray, half-born, and for once his mind was too tired to narrate. That's when he saw the buzzards again, 30 or 40 of them, motionless, perched on the limbs of a dead oak that looked like it had been burned and resurrected a dozen times. The feathers hung wet from the fog, giving them the solemn look of monks at prayer. Beauregard appeared behind him without a sound. "Now you're ready to listen," he said. "To what?" Harlan whispered. "To what you already ruined with noise." The rooster led him to the edge of the ridge where the land fell away into mist. The trees below were ghostly, their trunks fading into vapor. It looked like the ground itself was remembering how to disappear. "You've been talking so much you forgot the difference between breathing and speaking. You can't hear truth if you're trying to shape it while it's coming at you. That's like trying to sculpt a snowflake." Harlan nodded. The wind moved across his face like an old hand brushing dust off a shelf. "You see them birds?" Beauregard said. "They don't say a word unless they mean it. Most times they just sit and wait. That's their work, waiting. That's what keeps them holy." The word holy sounded strange coming from a rooster, but he felt his weight. He stood there a long time watching the flock. Eventually, one of the buzzards, smaller than the rest, spread his wings and leaped into the air. The rest followed, rising in slow spiral in unison, turning silence into motion. The air made a low humming sound as their wings caught it, a sound that somehow made everything else go still. "That," said Beauregard, "is prayer." It was the first time Harlan had felt the ridge of something living, not imagined. It wasn't a dream world. It was a slow, patient creature that had been waiting for him to shut up long enough to notice his breathing. The silence wasn't empty. It was full, dense, alive. That evening, as the sun dropped behind the pines, Harlan tried to speak again. Something simple, like "thank you," but the words came out wrong. His voice cracked halfway through, then stopped altogether. He realized the ridge wasn't accepting words anymore. It wanted him to mean things first. The rooster nodded approvingly. "You're learning," he said. "Speech is easy. Meaning's hard. That's why God outsourced most of his work to wind." That night, Harlan sat in the dark cabin and listened to the walls breathe. He could hear the distant laughter of the comedians returning, faint and slow, as though it were being carried by the breeze from miles away. It didn't sound like mockery anymore. It sounded like agreement. For the first time since arriving at Carrion Ridge, Harlan laughed back, not loudly, not nervously, but softly, like someone recognizing an old friend in a crowd. He didn't write anything in his notebook that night. He just left it open on the table, pages fluttering in the breeze, as if the wind itself might want to fill in the rest. In the silence, he understood something Portis-like, as dry and profound as it was funny. Maybe the universe didn't owe him an explanation because it had already told the joke. The setup was life, the punchline was learning to listen.